This part of the fortress will be a very important piece. Building the keep of a castle represents a double challenge. On the one hand, it will have to fit aesthetically into the rest of the bastion, even if it will have to stand out as a piece of residence of the lordship. On the other hand, in a wargaming context, it will have to provide strategic advantage and tactical space for the game itself. For this keep, as well as for the other parts of the fortress, I resorted to some tricks to make the work more efficient. I first created molds on these pieces. Some represent the maculations, obtained thanks to the template you have already seen in the Warhammer Watchtower video. Others are wall segments. I designed them in such a way that they can intertwine with each other, forming longer segments but, above all, perfectly connected edges. But we will see this later. The basic structure will have to be roughly cubic in shape. I found an old double-layered thick cardboard gift box and I block it in place with adhesive tape. All crafting journeys begin with a simple gesture, laying the first brick. Using the cardboard box as support, I proceed with the single brick technique for the entire base layer. I don't worry about being super accurate, because I will use some gimmicks to level everything once the brick laying is complete. Now let's insert the wooden supports obtained from some XPS foam sticks. I use a metal brush, rather rigid, to engrave the wood grain. At this point you will see what I need these resin clone pieces for. They are perfect corners. I plan to use those molds with plaster in the future to reduce processing costs. The foam allows me to make changes even during the construction. It is very easy to cut and remove, and we must never be afraid to modify our project if we have the opportunity to add interesting details, such as these vertical support beams. Now let's complete our walls with individual XPS foam bricks. The final effect will be fantastic. Although we are very far from the end of this piece, I prefer to immediately experiment with this priming technique, to be sure that the final effect is the one desired and not to risk ruining everything once the entire construction is finished. I used Mod Podge diluted and mixed with black acrylic paint, as in the classic tradition. This time, as I did in the past, I add baking soda to the mixture. This will have a double purpose, that is, to give a certain texture to my painting and to fill in the cracks between the bricks in a natural way. During the process, I also added some dry baking soda, spreading it evenly on my wall, making sure it ended up accurately in every crack. Once dry, this type of paint will protect the XPS foam, making it rock hard. Now let's take care of the battlements. They will have to provide a solid tactical space for the miniatures and act as a base for the turret, which instead will be mainly an aesthetic detail. I used recycled foam pieces, cutting them to sides to cover the entire upper part of the keep. I used the green stuff war textured roping to create the flooring, and to improve the camouflage effect of the joints, I cut out the pieces of flooring that I will then replace with other pieces, as you can see here. The whole is completed with some filler for the walls. Now, the fun part. This is the beauty of having previously created the stocks of these pieces, maculations and laces, otherwise very boring to create in progress. It's like playing with Lego, it only remains to put them together and the work is completed in a fast, precise and extremely satisfying way. Again, I use wall filler to fill in the spaces given by the irregularity of my cardboard box. Now, a very important detail of a purely aesthetic nature. The facade of the keep will represent one of the focal points of the internal courtyard of the fortress. I therefore decided to create a refined rounded staircase worthy of the lordship of the castle. To do this, I used scraps of foam, leftovers from my previous work on Diablo pools. Take a look at that video if you don't know what I'm talking about. Once the brick pattern was drawn, I glued the semicircles with PVA glue to optimize the cleanliness of the work. Final details. Thanks to the proxon, I cut the upper part of 2 columns. These I created thanks to the shifting lens template. Take a look at my video on the staircase of the Diablo dungeon to see how I created them. These columns will be placed next to the staircase as a support for 2 statues that I cloned with silicone molds and then recreated in resin. Now that we have finished the lower structure, we just have to dedicate ourselves to the upper turret. So far, so good. The roof of the tower immediately had a very specific shape and character in my mind. Once again, I am looking for a technique to speed up the work on the shingles. In addition to the silicone mold, which allows me to clone large portions of linear roofs, I need easy-to-cut roof tiles to adapt to particular shapes, such as a quadrilateral pyramid. I created 4 identical isosceles triangles, joining them with masking tape. I then added some lower wings to make the general shape less banal. At this point, I have the base on which to insert my strips of shingles, not without first having inserted some wooden beams to better highlight the broken shape of the pyramid.
I also use a piece of XPS foam to give the 4 dormers the same height cloned from GW's fortified manor. I use PVA glue for the shingles. It allows me a better arrangement of the pieces, a little patience and the roof is ready. For the last portion of the tower, I used a Proxon technique that allowed me to save a lot of time. First, I align my foam slices, then I go to engrave the space between the bricks using the low temperature hot wire. In the end, just rotate the slices to get an alternating brick pattern. Aluminium foil for texture and PVA glue. The top of the tower is done. For the positioning of the roof, I'm going to insert a wooden stick in the center. This roof will remain in this modular way, allowing combinations with other elements of the fortress. Now I proceed to enrich the tower with further details. All these have been cloned with the technique that I have illustrated in the video that I suggest you watch here, in the box at the top right. I use pieces of beams engraved with XPS foam, and finally I can create the small barracks attached to the tower with a bit of XPS foam cut to size and enriched with the beams and details. We are ready for the painting session. First, I covered everything with acrylic black paint, Mod Podge and water, also using baking soda to fill some cracks and give a better texture. The color scheme includes a series of shades of grey, from the darkest to the lightest, and the basic coloring of the wooden parts and walls. All this is to be considered very basic. At the end of the entire fortress, we will proceed with a greater attention to detail throughout the piece.
Okay guys, this is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe this channel. This community is growing, guys, and it's up to you. Help maxdmcrafting grow and do better and better. You can support maxdmcrafting through Patreon or PayPal. Follow the links in the description box below. And if you buy something on those links that are in the description box, those are affiliated links by Amazon. If you buy through those links, nothing will change for you guys. I will just receive a little percentage on your purchase. Till next time, happy crafting!